meant, is very uncertain. Modern scholars identify Ramesses with the city called Per-Ramses, House of Ramses in Egyptian records, placed by some at San el-Hagar in the Eni corner of the delta, and by others at Cantia, about 20 kilometers 12 mi to the south. But this identification rests on the theory that Ramses II was the pharaoh of the Exodus. This theory, in turn, is based on inscriptions of Ramses II giving his claim to having built the city bearing his name Per-Ramses, using slave labor. There is little reason, however, to believe that Ramses II was the ruler at the time of the Exodus, since his rule is not likely to have been much earlier than the 13th century BCE or between 200 and 300 years after the Exodus 1513 BCE. The biblical Ramses began to be built before Moses' birth, hence over 80 years before the Exodus. X1. 11, 15, 16, 22. 2. 1-3 Furthermore, it is held that Per-Ramses was the capital city in the time of Ramses II, whereas the biblical Ramses was only a storage place. It is generally accepted that Ramses II was guilty of taking credit for certain achievements of his predecessors, and this raises the possibility that, at best, he only rebuilt or enlarged Per-Ramses. Finally, the name Ramesses was clearly in use as far back as the time of Joseph in the 18th century BCE. So there is no reason to assume that its application in the form Ramses as the name of a city was exclusive with the time of Ramses II. G47. 11 Its very meaning, too, makes it likely that it was popular among the Egyptians from early times. By the reign of Ramses II there were a number of towns that bore that name. D.B. Redford says, Biblical Ramses and the capital PRMS' Per-Ramses, apart from the personal name, seem to have nothing in common. In the complete lack of corroborative evidence it is absolutely essential to exercise caution in equating the two. Vetus Testamentum, Leiden, 1963, p. 410. Because of the lack of reliable information, it can only be said that Ramesses was likely not far from the Egyptian capital of the time of the Exodus. This would allow for Moses to have been at Pharaoh's palace on no textoi acute muritra longo. Rabbi 724 was on a tributary of the Upper Jabbok and was thus in position to benefit from the rich fertility of that region. Also, it was an important link in the trade route between Damascus and Arabia. Rabbah of the sons of Ammon Rab Bath-Bnem-Mon is first mentioned in the Bible as being the location of the iron bier of Og, king of Bashan. 3. 11 When the Israelites came to the Promised Land, the tribe of Gad received Amorite land formerly, it seems, held by Ammon as far as Aroah, which is in front of perhaps to the Eni of Rabbah. Jos 13. 25. Captured by David. The city is mentioned again in connection with war resulting from the abuse of David's messengers by King Nun of Ammon. 2 10. 1-19. 1ch19. 1-19 Joab and his troops fought Syrians high by the Ammonites, while the Israelites under Abishai went up against the Ammonites at the entrance of the city, evidently Rabbah. 1ch19. 9 When the Syrians were defeated, the Ammonites retreated into the city. The next spring Joab and his army besieged Rabbah. It was during this campaign that David in Jerusalem sinned with Bathsheba. The king sent her husband Uriah the Hittite back to battle, and according to David's instructions, Uriah was put in the front lines. When some Ammonites sallied forth from Rabbah, the battle brought Uriah close enough to be killed by an archer on the wall. 2-11. 1-25. 1ch20. 1. In time Joab succeeded in his fight against Rabbah to the point of capturing the city of waters. 2-12. 27 Since Joab then informed David of the situation so that the king would come and complete the conquest and thus get credit for capturing Rabbah, it seems that Joab captured only a portion of the city. The expression city of waters may refer to a part on the river bank, as distinguished from some other part of the city, or it may mean that he secured control of the city's principal water supply. 2-12. 26-28. David came and completed the capture of Rabbah, and the spoil of the city that he brought out was very much. 2-12. 29-31. 1ch20. 2-3 Eventually the Ammonites became independent again. In the 9th century BCE, Amos foretold judgment against the Ammonites, and he specifically mentioned that Rabbah would be burned. Am 1. 13, 14. Both Jeremiah and Ezekiel also delivered messages against Rabbah. As shown under Ammonites, these prophecies were evidently fulfilled in Nebuchadnezzar's time. Jah 49. 2, 3. Ez 21. 19-23. 25. 5. In the 3rd century BCE, Ptolemy Philadelphus rebuilt Rabbah and renamed the city Philadelphia. It was later included among the cities of the Decapolis and apparently was quite prosperous and strong. The modern city of Amman is located here, and there are considerable ancient ruins, including a huge amphitheater, but these date mainly from Roman times. 2. One of the cities given to the tribe of Judah in its territorial allotment. Its exact location is unknown. In Joshua 15. 60 it is listed with Kiriath Jearim, which was in the hill country of Judah 13 kilometers